Broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Hi everybody, welcome to today's webinar. We will talk a little bit about Creo efficiency improvements, and we'll focus a little bit more on Mapkeys. So we're just going to start with a few slides, and then we'll jump into Creo. So just first of all, the webinar agenda. So this was on the invite as well. So I'll do a quick introduction of boundary systems, and then we're going to jump into the demonstration. And after that, we'll have a quick question and answer session. Yeah, so just a little bit about myself. So I'm a boundary systems technical specialist. My main focus is in the Creo manufacturing side of things. And I'm also responsible for some of the post processes we develop for the CNC machines. Okay, so the next slide is just a few slides on some of the companies we serve. I think the important one here is some of our capabilities that I would like to highlight. So we have product lifecycle management, we do data management, CAD design and consulting, simulation and product development as well. Yes, so some of our major accreditations we have. So we are a Winchell certified implementer, PTC preferred service provider, and also a PTC certified training partner. So the next slide is just some of the solutions we offer. So main focus obviously PTC, but we also have Solid Thinking, EdgeRage, and ZWCAD. Okay, and then just a slide on the contact information. So if you have to run and you can't ask a question now and you need to get back to me, there's my email address. If you have any sales related questions, you can email sales as well. So I'll just give you 1 second so you can take a snapshot of that, and then we're going to jump into Creo and we're going to start with the Mapkey stuff. Okay, so we've got an assembly. I'm just going to open up one of these parts, and then we'll do a few of the Mapkeys just in part modes. So everything I do in part mode, you can apply in assemblies as well. Okay, so let's quickly open up one of these components, and then we'll start off with Mapkeys. So I'll start off with real simple ones. and then we'll make them a little bit more complicated as we go along. Okay, so the first one that I want to show you. So I'm going to use the search, the function search on the right-hand side at the top, and you can type in Mapkeys over there, and you can access Mapkeys, or where you're going to create your Mapkeys dialog box from there as well. The other way that you can do that is if you go to File, Options, you go to Environment and Mapkeys Settings. And that will take you to the exact same window. So we'll be using this window quite a lot today, so we're going to create everything from here. So the first Mapkey that I want to create, so let's say for argument's sake, we use this part in a specific project, and I always have to look at the name of the component that will specify the project name, or you'll have to have a parameter that you need to set. So one of the things that I would like to do is I will create a little note on my display screen or in the graphics area that will show that project name. So that's just an example. You can use it for anything. So let's start with that. So I'm going to say I'm going to create a new Mapkey. That's going to bring up the record Mapkey dialog box, and you're going to give it a certain shortcut that you want to apply. So I'm going to make this one N1. Okay, so when you select these shortcuts, try to have at least 2 numbers or 2 digits or 2 anything in there. Because as soon as you have just one, it's going to run that Mapkey first. So for instance, if I have a shortcut or a Mapkey just for N, then I can't create another Mapkey using N1 or N2, because as soon as I hit N on the keyboard, it's going to run that particular Mapkey. So try to have at least 2 digits in there. Okay, so I'm going to make that N1, and I'm just going to make it a note. And as soon as I hit record, it's going to record all the clicks and all the keyboard inputs that I provide. So in one of the examples I'm going to show a little bit later, I'm going to use some of the built-in shortcuts in Creo, and we're going to create a Mapkey using that particular shortcut. So let's just go and we say record, and let's go to annotate. We're going to create our note flat to the screen, and we're going to create the note and the unattached note. We're going to pick where we want it, and we're going to give it a description. Okay, so that's that. I'm going to finish that. And then I'm going to say stop. So that means everything that I've done now, that was recorded. So let's test that quickly. So I'm going to hit N1 on the keyboard. It's going to ask me where do I want to put my note. And it's going to type exactly the note that I've entered. So I'm not doing anything now. Creo is busy doing all of that. Yeah, so that's a real simple way of creating a map. So with that example, I just want to say that it's going to record everything that you do, and you can do it multiple times. Let's just delete the one note over here, and let's do one that's a little bit more difficult. And we're going to just go to Mapkeys again. And in this case, I want to add a parameter. So most of the time, you don't have all the parameters for a specific project. So as soon as you open up that part, you need to type it in, and that will populate through to a drawing or something like that. So then you'll need to type that in. So that's a great example for Mapkeys. So let's do that one. And I'm going to make this one parameter 1. And we're going to add a parameter. And I'm going to hit record again. I'm going to go record. I need to go to tools. I need to go to parameters. Let's just drag that to the middle of the screen so everybody can see. And I'm going to hit the plus sign. I'm going to say add parameter 1. Should be a string. And then I want to type in the value over here. So maybe that value is going to be different every time. If it's not, you can type in the value now, and that's going to be part of the map key. In this case, I want to be able to change this value. Okay, so I'm just going to say pause that for a second, and it's going to ask me to for a prompt. So this will ask the user or anybody that's running the map key to just guide them a little bit. And I'm just going to say add. Let's go add value. Okay, so you can see my record box is still. I still need to resume that, so that will give me some time to add a value in here. So I'm just going to go 1, 2, 3, and now I can say resume, and I can click OK. And then I'm going to stop my map key. And then that map key is recorded. So I can go OK. So we've got N1 and P1. N1 for the note and P1 for adding a parameter. And so let's just close that and let's just test that. So I can't run the parameter 1 again because I've made the parameter value. So I need to delete this one just to test the map key. I'm going to remove that. I'm going to say OK. And I'm going to run the map key. Ooh, wrong way. So let's just click in the graphics area. It's asking me to add the value. So it created the parameter that I needed. It says add the value. I can say BVV12, for instance. And I can click on resume, and that's going to finish that adding parameter. Now let's just double check that. So you can go parameters, go to the bottom, and there's the parameter that I've added with the map key. Okay, so that's an example of that. One of the other things, so we've got this access bar here at the top, and I'm just going to create a map keys for some of the views. So yes, some of them are on the right mouse button. It's not a lot of mouse travel to change this, but I found it really useful if you have these views as map keys. So I'm just going to do an example or two of them, and then we can then you can see how quick you can jump between certain orientations. So let's call them view 1, and we're going to do the front view. And it's fairly easy. We're going to go record. We're going to go to view, and go to saved orientations, and we're going to go to front, and we're going to stop. I'm going to say OK, and then we're going to go new again. We're going to go view 2, and we're going to go left view. And we say record. Do exactly the same thing. Click on view, save view, and we're going to go to left view. So you can go and you can do this for all the views that you use. I'm going to go stop. Okay, and close. So now if I hit V1 on the keyboard, that keeps just click in the background, V1, go to my front, V2, and that's going to go to my left here. So it doesn't matter where you are, just quickly V1, and you're in that particular view. Okay, so really useful to jump between certain views very quickly. Okay, so the next one that I want to show you is when you use the Alt key in Creo. So I'm going to hit Alt, and you'll notice that every tab's got a certain value that you can type in. So we've got 1, 2, 3 here. We've got M, A, S. So every group, every tab's got a certain thing assigned to it. So let's say we're going to let's do an extrude. So if you want to create an extrude, you can hit Alt, M for the model tab, and X for extrude, and you can hit the datum plane or the feature, and you're going to go there. So you can use it like that as well. So Alt X and or Alt M X, and that's going to create your extrude. So we can use those in Mapkeys as well. So let's do that in a Mapkey. So we're going to go Mapkeys again. And we're going to tell it we want to create an extrude. So let's go for extrude 1. And we're going to go record. So remember, this is recording the keyboard input as well. So I'm going to hit Alt. I'm going to hit M. I'm going to hit X. And I'm going to stop my map key there, because now I want to be able to select a datum plane or a surface or anything that I want to create my map key with, or my extrude with. So you can force this, and you can, for instance, select the top datum plane or the right datum plane. So any of these default datum features that you have, you can select that. So if you have to create your first extrude from the top datum plane every time, then you can hit the top datum plane, and it's going to create that. So if you do it like I'm doing it now, it's just a little bit more robust. It's just giving you a little bit more freedom of where you can use this this particular map key. But you are in control. You can do it. You can create as many map keys as you like. Okay, so I'm going to stop mine over there. And I'm going to say OK. And then it's going to give me a warning. So the X keyboard shortcut is already assigned to the following command. So X is going to create a sheet metal part, or it's going to create an extrude in freestyle. Okay, so now it's asking me, do you want to reassign the command keyboard shortcut to this map key? So I can say either yes or no. So you can make the call on that. So maybe X was not the best option, but I'm going to go with yes over here, and I'm going to keep it like that. Okay, and so let's finish our extrude, and let's test our map key. So I'm going to go X1, and you can see I'm in the extrude, and it stopped exactly where I wanted to stop. So now I can either select a surface, or I can select any of my datum planes, and I can go and create the extrude as needed. Okay, so all depending on what you want to do and where you want to apply that. Yeah, so that was an example of where we'll use the Alt shortcut keys. So then one of the other things that you can do with map keys is you can create nested map keys. So what I mean by nested map keys is that you can use any of the map keys that you already created, and you can combine them. So remember that the map keys will take the keyboard input. So if I create a map key and I hit a map key that I already created, it's going to record that as well. So let's try this, and let's combine the N1 map key and the P1 map key. So I want to place the note, and I want to add a parameter all in one go. Right, so let's do that. Let's say we're going to do a combine one. So let's call that C1. And we say combine. And let's go record. And I'm just going to click in the graphics window. And I'm going to say N1. And I'm going to place my note. That is really slow. That must be the connection. Okay, so there's my project name. So that's N1. And then I want to add the parameter as well. So that map key was P1. So I'm going to hit P1 on my keyboard, and that parameter was already there. Okay, so I forgot to remove that. Let's just say okay over there, and let's start that over. Otherwise, that's going to screw up our map key. So let's cancel this. Let's stop that and cancel that one. And we're quickly going to just remove this parameter. Okay, so now we can go. Okay, so map keys again. So go into that. And we're going to say combine one. And we're going to say record, and we're going to say N1 to place our note flat onto the screen with the particular project name that we wanted over there. And then the next key would be the parameter that we need to add. You can add the value. And we can say resume, and now we can stop that combined map key. So let's say okay. Now we've got combine one there. So let's test that one. Let's remove some of these notes. They're becoming a little bit cluttered. Okay, and obviously you can create a map key for that as well. So we need to remove our parameter one, and let's hit C1 for that combined one. It's asking me to place the note where I want that. It's going to add the project name. So that's just a really slow connection we're running here. It's adding the parameter as well. So I can add the parameter PTP B123, and we can say resume. And that's it. That's everything done. So if we go to the parameters now, you can scroll down and we can see that particular parameter was added as well. Okay, so that's an example of nested map key. So let's just delete that. If I need to run it again, we can do that. And let's delete that one as well. Okay, so the next thing that we can do is we can fiddle a little bit around with the interface. So we're gonna add some tabs here at the top. I'm going to take some of those map keys, I'm going to add them in there as well, and I'm going to give them a nice icon as well. So let's go through that. So all of that will happen in the Creo parametric options window. So let's quickly work through this, and then we can we'll get to the customize of that as well. So the first step is the first one I want to show you is the system appearance. So I had a few support calls in the last couple of months where guys will need where they will use a black background, or they don't like the white, or they want to change that. So there's a few default themes that you can use. So if you're coming from earlier versions of Wildfire 2, 3, 4 maybe, or even before that, where the blue and the yellow was. So I know a lot of those guys took that system color file, and it basically traveled with them throughout the versions. Okay, so you can still use those color files. What I recommend normally is to start off with one of these. Okay, so you will find if you use some of the older system color files, it works fine. But as soon as you start printing things and creating PDFs and things like that, then you'll find that sometimes there's certain colors that's not 100%. So if you're going to the new version and you would like you would like to start with a black background, just pick it over here and then change a few of the other colors. That's not going to affect the printing and things like that. Okay, so that's just a handy tip. It's not cast in stone. You don't have to use that. I just find it to be a lot easier to start off with one of the defaults and then move on and change colors here and there where you need that, or where it's easy on your eyes. Okay, so then the next section that I want to jump to is the ribbon. Okay, so you can customize this ribbon. You can add commands in here. You can add your Mapkeys in here. You can chop and change these as you like and make and break as you please. Okay, so the first one that I want to do is I'm going to make my first tab. I'm going to make that my particular one. So I'm just going to click at the top. I'm going to say I want to create a new one, new tab, and it's going to create that tab with one group in it. So you can see already here in the left-hand side at the top, it's already there. Okay, so I can click on that and I can see exactly how it's going to space these icons and things. So I'm just going to rename that, and I'm going to name this my Mapkey group or tab. So all my Mapkeys is going to sit in there. And so then I can name my first group. I can give that this specific name as well, something that makes sense. So what I'll do then is I'll go into the left-hand side and I can pick what I want to add there. So I'm going to do the Mapkeys here, but you can create your own groups and you can select anything. So let's just say all commands, and you can scroll down here and you can look for the commands, or you can filter through them. So if you want your extrudes or your flexible modeling things combined with extrudes and things like that, but let's say like five to 10 things that you use on a daily basis, just create that one tab with maybe 2 or 3 groups, and you're just going to be in that particular tab most of the time. Right, so really nice. So I'm gonna do my Mapkeys in here. So let's click on the Mapkey tab. So there's my combine, there's my extrude, there's my front left view, my note, and my parameter as well. So let's quickly add the combine. So you can see my little smiley face, and let's do the extrude as well, and let's do the left one as well. So I want that 3 there. So you can add them in there and you can change them. So what I would like to do next is I would just like to modify them a little bit. So I can give them a particular icon. So these are just some pictures I grab off Google, and I'm going to choose the button image. So the only thing that you need to do is it needs to be a PNG file. So I can grab one of them. Okay, obviously pictures that you're going to grab off Google is not going to be the correct size. So Creo can size that icon for you in a particular value that's going to suit your environment. I just say okay. I've got 2 of the same ones now. That's not too clever, but never mind. And let's use the USB one. Also not the right size. I'm repicking things I've tested. just check, do I have the gear? No, I don't have the gear. Let's use the gear. Okay, so there's the gear. Okay, and you can see that updated in my Mapkey tab and group as well. Yeah, so you can really make it pretty and make it useful. These Mapkeys will be saved in your config.profile. Maybe I should just quickly open up the config.profile so you can just quickly. I have to save my Mapkeys first before it will be in there. Let's quickly do that. I'm going to save them. And I'm going to say, okay. And let's quickly open up that config.pro. And you can see I've got some Mapkeys in here. And the UDF, where's the, here's the Mapkeys. Okay, so all the Mapkeys in here. Okay, I think there should be a little bit more, but there's Mapkeys. Here's the combine. Okay, so the actual clicks of the Mapkeys will be in the config.profile. So if you're going to deploy this throughout the throughout your company, you can record that, and you can just save the config.profile wherever the guys is starting up from, and they can use that. So you can do it with batch files, or you can just do a normal copy and paste on the servers and things like that. Okay. The icons and everything that you do with the tabs and the models, that will be saved in the UI file. Okay, so you can also have more than one UI file. So that's the user interface file. I always save mine in my working directory or my startup directory, and then each time you hit export in the options menu. So if you say export configurations, and that's the configurations, it's over here. If you say export, that's going to create a UI file for you. So you can save them as many as you like, and you just put that particular one in the startup directory, or you can import them with a Mapkey or something when you start up. So certain users groups will have different needs. So you can create a UI file for each of them. Okay. Then one of the last things that I want to show on this side is the quick access toolbar. So that's the one here at the top. So these are the default ones. So if you need to add anything to them, you can add in there. Let's just grab anyone. Let's see what we can. What do we need to add there? We can grab. You can click any of these. You can add chamfers, or let's do the checkout. You can add checkout. So if it's the first one and you don't want that, you can just select it over here, and you can rearrange it and put it wherever you need to. So checkout, check-in, you can add them there at the top. Okay. From here, you'll go export. We'll save that UI file. Each time you start up Creo, they will be there. Okay, so that's that. The next one I want to show is to add something to the minibar. So in Creo 5, they introduced it in Creo 4. If you pick geometry or datum features or anything, depending on that pick, you will have this mini toolbar. So this will reduce your mouse travel, but you can add to this as well. So I can, for instance, add my Mapkeys in here if I want to. So I can just select the Mapkey if I want to, or hit it on the keyboard, whatever is the easiest, or wherever you prefer it. So if you need to customize that, you can just right-click on that, and you can say customize. And now you have the same interface as when you working from the properties. So you can take any of the commands, and you can just drag them in there wherever you want them.
at the top at the new one. So I want to measure angle quickly. From there, you just drag and drop that any of these features. So all of them will be there. Okay, so depending on what you want to do, what you use the most, you can pick that. So things like extrude and all of that, you can add them. Just drag and drop them in there. And that's it. So just remember again, if you're doing it for a specific user interface file, after you've changed that, you'll have to go into options and just make sure you save that that user interface file. If it's just the default one, it will do it automatically. Okay. Okay, so I think that's that. Then one of the other nice things that I want to show you is user-defined features. So also just a really nice tool to create a geometry fairly quick and easy. So I'm going to create I'm going to open up the part that I used to create my whole UDF. So this is just an extrude. What I'm actually looking for was the whole geometry. So if you go in here and you say edit definition, you'll notice that it's got a countersink and a counterbore, and it's got a specific set of sizes. So this is in millimeters. So that's the hole that I want. So this is a type of hole that you will use a lot in tooling for countersunk bolts and things like that. You need to just give it a little bit of a cut over there, just to make sure it's not interfering with any plates or things like that. Okay, so that's the values that I would like to use. I use it a lot. I place these holes in a lot of plates. So let's go and add them. So what you will do first is you will go and you will create your user your library. So you're going to create that. You're going to give it a name. I've already done this, so I'm just going to say, just going to do it fairly quickly. And you're going to pick your feature that you want to add, and you say OK. And it's going to give it's going to prompt you what you need to select for the feature. So depending on the references that you've used when you created that hole, it's going to ask you for those. So if I just used a coordinate system, I just need to specify a coordinate system. If I used a point, a datum plane, and a surface, it's going to ask me for all three references. So in this case, what I did, I just used the top surface, and I used a datum axis. Okay, so I'm going to say that's fine for the surface selection, and that's fine for the axis selection. And I'm going to say that's it. And okay, and there's my UDF created. So I just did this for a hole, but I could have used the extrude and the hole. You can have a whole group of things, a boss with ribs on it, stiffened certain plastic parts, things like that. So there's no limit into what you can use over here. Okay, so the hole is just to simplify it a little bit. Okay, so let's go and apply that hole. So I'm going to create a new plate. I'm just going to change my startup template to millimeters solid part. And I'm going to create an extrude on my top plane. And just create something simple, basic size. Call it 50 millimeters by 30 millimeters. Let's make it a little bit bigger. Let's do 100 millimeters. Here's my plate. I'm going to make it 10 millimeters thick. And then I'll need to create a datum axis quickly. So let's do that quickly. Grab that edge. And that edge, and let's call it 15. Okay, and then I'm going to I'm going to apply that. So here's my user-defined feature. So there's a specific folder that you can specify that for that. That's the one I had in my library. If I go to my working directory, there's the name one that I've just created. So I can either use that one or my library one. So I'm going to use my library one. I'm going to say open. I'm going to say OK, and it threw. Put that in the background. So here's my surface that I need to select. So that was just a window in the background. So I pick my surface, and then here's my second prompt for the axe. Select my axe, and it will tell me that it succeeded. So there's nothing out of place or references missing, and I can say OK. So that's a fairly simple example, but it's really powerful. You can really use that. You can even go back to all designs that you've done, and if you need to reuse that again, just quickly grab them, add them to a library, or just put them in your working directory when you create your UDF, and then you can apply it in your new design. So it's not driven from anything else. If you go back and you change the old design, this one's gonna stay like that. Okay, so really, a really nice tool. Then one of the other things I wanted to show was in the assembly. So some really nice things in the new search tool. So one of the major things that they've changed is, as you type, it would start looking for certain things, or as you type, it would look for it. So let's just say, let's just wait for the screen to update. It's a little bit slow. So I've started to type skeleton. So it picked up the skeletons. It picked up all the sketches. So it's gonna highlight all of that for you. Okay, so as you type, that's gonna add that. Okay, so that's also nice. So you can also change your query a little bit. If you just want to grab parts or assemblies, fixed placement components, so you can work through this, and this will filter through your selection as well. It's a lot quicker than in previous versions. And a lot easier to use as well. Okay, so some of the other tricks that I want to show in the model tree. Just going to open up the chassis assembly. So as soon as we've got that, then we're going to add a few columns. So what I normally add in here is things like materials and things like that. You can add in your column tree. So 3 columns, you can add parameters. So if you have model parameters, so the PTC material name. So if you're working with a lot of different materials, this is one I would use. And if I want to see who was the designer that made that, I can add that column in there. And as soon as I hit apply, it's going to give me those columns. So not a great example. So nobody filled in the parameters the model by, and also no material is assigned, okay, to these. So you'll know you'll need to spend a little bit of time on this and fix that. So the nice thing about this is, for the model by, you can type in values in here, and that's going to save that in that particular part. Okay, no, that's a pattern. You can't add that, so I need to do it for that one. Okay, so you can see that's going to populate for all the parts. Okay, so just also a nice, quick, easy way to get information within the parameters and see what's going on with a lot of components. Okay, so what I will do from here is I will pick my steel components. I will create a map key. I will pick the component, run the map key. It's going to assign the steel material to it, and that's going to populate the PTC material in here. So that's an example how you can use that. Also nice if you start, as soon as you start adding a lot of these components or these columns, let's say you have all of them, then it can become a little bit cluttered. So you've got this nice icon where you can hide all of them and you can show them when you need them. Okay, so just put that on and off as you need it. Oh, yeah, hidden it again. Okay, and you can also specify the width and things like that. So I just kept the defaults. So here's the width. So you can make that smaller or bigger depending on the parameters. And go on the width on the parameters. So you can make it 7 or 6 or make it 20 or whatever the case is for that particular design. Okay, so that's that one. Then the last one that I want to show, I'm going to go back to the main assembly. So you'll notice that in this component, there's quite a few skeletons that was used. So every sub-assembly will have a certain skeleton. So that's a great way of doing your top-down design. So what this guy had to do, he had to go and pick all of them like that, and then hide them, and then go and save or hide them, and then save the status of that. So you needed to use that save status icon. So as soon as you hide something, you have to apply that. I'm going to show you a different way of grabbing anything with the search tool and put that on a layer, and then you can just grab the layer and you can hide it. So you can see, if we go to our layer tree, we don't have one for the skeletons. Okay, and there's quite a lot in there. So let's start the search tool. So we're going to go click on that. We're going to look for parts because skeletons is part of the part. We're going to select type, and then we're going to say it should be equal to skeletons. So look at all the different things that you can look for in here, and you can so the search tool, great. You can do this for datum planes, datum access, anything that you can search for, you can apply this to. I'm going to look for skeletons. So found a few of them. I'm just going to grab all of them, and I'm going to select them. So as soon as they are selected, under the options tab, there's a few things that you can do. So one of the things that you can do is you can save this query. Okay, so I'm going to save the query, and I'm going to give it a skeleton, and I'm going to tell it, well, add that to a layer for me as well. Okay, I'm going to close that. So now all that I need to do is go to my layer tree, and I can start, and I can hide it from there. So once again, you can create a map key for that if it's something you do often. Okay. So it's thinking a little bit about that. Let's go. And let's go to the bottom. Oh, where's all there? It should be over here. It says current. It says here at the bottom. Query has been saved in layer skeleton. Okay. Oh, there it is. Okay, so now I can just grab that, and I can hide it, or I can work with it like I would do with normal layers. Okay, so great for drawings and things like that, depending on what you want to show. You can do it for components with a specific name. So you can do it for your bolts, for instance. Just add all of them on one layer, hide the layer. Simplified reps, you can do that as well. Okay. Okay, so I think that's everything that I wanted to show within Creo. So I'm going to put back the slide with my contact information, and then I see I have a few questions. I'll quickly have a peek at that. If you have some questions, quickly type them up, and I'll try to answer them. Okay, so I'll give you a minute or two to get those in. Okay, so we have a question on if you accidentally override a default map key, how do you get the original map key back? Okay, so if you created your map key and you saved it back to the config.profile, that's overwritten. So you'll have to use a backup of the config file to get that back. If that's not there, then I'm afraid there's no way that you can get that back. So make sure that you test it a few times before you actually save it to your config.profile. Then there was a question on how do you remove smileys from the user interface. That question was asked before I showed the icons that you can add it. So yep, you'll use the icon functionality or the radio button option. You can change that. The recording will be available as soon as they're uploaded. That will be on our YouTube page. Okay. So yep. Okay, that seems like all the questions I had for now. So we've got about 5 minutes left or so. So I'll give you a few extra minutes to ask those questions.
Okay, so we've got a question on layers. So how do you make a rule that creates a layer of a layer in it? Okay, so I assume you're referring like I did with the nested map keys. You want to do that with layers. So I'm not sure if you can search for layer items. One of the options is layers, but then I'm not sure if you can search for multiple things and select all of them in one go. Okay, so I think I've got your details. I think I'm going to get back to you on it. I'll do a little bit of research, taste a few things, and then I assume you are using Creo 5. So Wasim, I'll get back to you on that particular one. I'm not 100% sure, and I'll need to test it first. Right. Okay, so I think that was the last question. I just want to thank everybody. Thank you for joining us today. Hope to see you next time. Thanks. Bye.